This week we are reviewing Masters of the Universe. Is this a heroic and glorious return to Eternia, or should this have stayed in the 80s with leg warmers and bad haircuts? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to Middle Age Geeks. I'm one of your hosts, Daz. That is Phil. And this week it is Masters of the Universe. And this is directed by Travis Knight and starring Nicholas Galitzine, Idris Elba, Camila Mendes, Jared Leto, and others. And it arrives with a budget of 170 million and is tracking to make 30 million, and we'll get into that. Here is a brief synopsis. A young man discovers a fabulous secret legacy as the prince of an alien planet and must recover a magic sword and return home to protect his kingdom, which is quite weirdly put because it's not an actual secret at all. He knows it from the off. But anyway, before we get stuck into it, what were your thoughts coming out of the cinema? Because we saw this together. We chatted briefly before parting. So what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I like I said to you guys, I think that this movie, it had to be goofy. You know, it had to be the way that it was. I think there's no way you could have played this straight because of just how ridiculous, it is. Like, I mean, having a live action, dude in like fucking furry underwear taking himself like 100% seriously would have been a disaster. So I like that they went, they with the they had the self-awareness to make it the way it was. I just think maybe they went a little bit too heavy. Like, there's a fine line between tongue-in-cheek and this kind of constant quips, like that we get from Marvel. Almost you're like, okay, yeah, we get it. You're it's funny, but it's awkward and it's funny, but it felt a little forced. But I suppose the biggest budget, and we'll get into it as we talk, is things around the budget and around the use of CGI and all the rest of it, and the fact that this is a movie from the 80s, it's going to have more of a niche following. Would money have, you mentioned 170? I think that's a low estimate. I think it's somewhere between 170 to 200.
Wow.
So is it, for a movie like this that's from the 80s that most people won't have heard of for like 40 years, is this, are you throwing money away? And it'll be an interesting conversation to have. Like, I like Travis Knight's movies. Coraline is one of my all-time favorites. We got a trailer before this for his next one, the Wild Woods or whatever it's called. So I'm a fan, and then the cast, I think it's casted did a good job. I think the majority of that money has gone into the CGI, and we can kind of talk about whether that was a good or bad thing. Well, what were your feelings around this one yourself?
Yeah, like I really enjoyed the experience. It's probably one of the most bafflingly expensive movies I've ever watched in a cinema. Especially, I guess we'll get into it. That it's 40-year-old 80s cartoon fever dream is what it kind of comes across as in this. But I just had a great time. I think the film completely understands how ridiculous the source material is, and I just like the way it kind of leans into that. It's hit and miss in that regard, but it's kind of colorful, silly, self-aware, and it's packed with it's perfect embodiment of that called dumb fun. That is, if we had did this review last night after the movie, I would have just been like fucking buzzing completely because it came out going just like that. It was far better than I think it had any right to be in my mind. It was, I don't know if that's because the bar was set so low or anything like that, but I was just happy that the humor worked for the most part for me. I was worried when there were reports that it's joke heavy, and I was just like, oh, would they not just lean into some of the themes and kind of? I'm actually glad that they didn't do that, and that it doesn't continue that kind of modern trope of just really creating a serious movie from this source material. Because I went back and watched a little bit of the cartoon. The cartoon is absolutely like, it's mental, it's mad. It's just like people on LSD coming up with this kind of stuff. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, just really enjoyed pretty much most of it. We get into kind of the CG and stuff like that, but performance was great, and it kind of ticked a load of the boxes in terms of an enjoyable movie experience. How it is as an actual movie when you get to review it, that will be an interesting discussion. Yeah.
I think just because you mentioned performances there, like I think that not only were the performances good, I think that they selected some of the very they selected their actors very carefully because of the type of movie that they wanted to make, and I think that that's like especially with with Alison Brie,
Mm,
like she's for me, I think she's just like the MVP really here of just playing it like campy over the top
mm,
because she's such an incredible actor and she's a great comedy background. Like so, I think she totally understood the character that she's supposed to play and give her
mm,
that villain costume. She was just chewing the scenery for me. I thought she was
mm,
fantastic. I would have loved to see even more. And the you can see how much some of the visual effects could be a little bit bloated. Whereas you've
mm,
got someone like her who can steal scenes on her own. Why
mm,
not just have more of her and cut out some of the unnecessary stuff? Because
mm.
her whole like theatrical, malice bad guy thing was just brilliant to watch.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then same with like Jared Leto. We always, with Jared Leto, you're gonna get, you're not gonna get anything halfway, whether you like him or
Mm.
love him. I saw someone say the other day that he can't act. I was like, that's not correct. It's not that he can't act. This is
He's
an
a
Oscar
really
winning
good
actor.
actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just he's nuts. That's the problem. But I think like bringing him this like because Skeletor is this ridiculous character, as they say in it. The movie is so self-aware and like if you've got a fucking skull for a face, very good chance you're the bad guy. Like and
Yeah, yeah.
like and like I just think that that he's going to be swinging for ridiculous heights by bringing him in.
Mm.
They had to have known that, and there's
Oh,
no way he was
absolutely.
going to play great. Yeah, he's playing those Saturday morning cartoons that we loved of the villains. He's bringing one of them to life. Your Skeletor,
Mm.
your fucking what's his name, Maximilian Mayhem from
Yeah,
Mask.
yeah.
These kind of people
Yeah,
who are
yeah,
just
yeah.
totally over the top. Cobra Commander, whoever it is, you want someone who's going to be, and like Jared Leto was the choice for that. I think both of them were great. I liked the I like the chemistry between our two kind of will they won't they
Yeah.
what was the what's the main actor's name again? I'm always forgetting. It's
Adam.
Galitz.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Nicholas
yeah,
Galitzine.
and I'm going to get that wrong multiple times. And Camila Mendez, I like the two of them. I thought that she kind of grounded it a little bit because there are such massive over the top characters. I thought
Mm.
that her character was a little bit more grounded. I thought that was good. So yeah, like performance wise, I don't really have any issues. I thought they're most more funny. There's some
Yeah.
really great interplay and some laugh out loud moments as
Mm.
well.
That's what, like, yeah, because the humor really works and works because of the cast and because of the performances, and they do kind of gel together. And as an ensemble, it works really well. Like speaking on Jared Leto, I think it's one of his best performances in years, and that might be a double sided kind of compliment based on personal preferences. Recently, he just comes across. I can't get away from the fact he just, especially in Tron Ares, where he just comes across as just this egotistical, pompous prick. Just like coming across his performances. But he's undeniably fantastic. Dallas Buyers Club is phenomenal in that and worthy Oscar winner. But in this, he just goes all into it, and I'm imagining that is him in the suit, right? Because
Oh right, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Because
don't know.
I was
Yeah, I
thinking
assume
about
so.
that because there's the voice is unrecognizable and it's excellent. He kind of leans into that, just that weird kind of, he's trying to, like, it's like a Bane kind of, a Bane-esque
I
kind of
like I said,
voice.
yeah, I thought he sounded like Peter Dinklage at times. 100
Yeah,
percent
it's
the way he
Bane
was
and Peter
speaking to him.
Dinklage
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle of that. But that was really good, and because the kind of his voiceover works with the mannerisms of the person in the suit and in the, obviously, behind the mask. I thought that worked really well, but I thought Idris Elba, for me, like, kind of stole the show, because I just think that man can play anything, and he plays a few different versions of his role here, Man at Arms, where, at the beginning he is that is the king's right hand man, the commander of his army, and he has that very kind of, there's this kind of soft side, but it's just a strong side, and he just embodies that perfectly, because he's just a big fucking powerful presence. But then later on, when he's kind of down and out, washed up 15 years later, is kind of a drunk and stuff like that, and he plays that perfectly as well. Just like he could play fucking anything, and I thought he was excellent. And there's lovely kind of moments in the movie, like between obviously like Adam and Camilla, or Nick and Camilla,
Tila,
the
is it?
main Tila, yeah. So
Tila?
Adam and
Yeah.
Tila, yeah. Their chemistry is great, and they have a nice kind of relationship. And then you have Tila and Idris Elba as father and daughter, and there's loads of different aspects to the performances and to the characters and story, and that's kind of how it worked. Like there is some kind of touching moments. It's all very surface level and all that, but it is just lovely themes and lovely touching kind of moments between the characters. And that was something I just, you don't know, is the bar so low going into a movie like this that you're just hoping that you just get something that's not shit. But actually then you're kind of going, actually no, that is kind of nice. It's nicely written, nice characters, performances are great, and that works to a point. But I guess like the the elephant in the room is when you kind of stand back afterwards, and you kind of, it's like a segment of a show that we like to call who is this for, you know what I mean? Because when it is
Mm.
170 million, you kind of go, my first question when you said it was tracking to make like 30 million, I was like, oh Jesus Christ, like it's gonna absolutely flop. And you're kind of going, if it's 170 200 million, I was thinking like, if from last year, and you have Superman coming out and just barely like making money, and it's one of the most iconic characters in fucking cinema and cartoons and comics and everything. And then this, someone said, oh, 200 million, but we'll get this cast together and all this. And the script is obviously pretty great. The director's great, and all comes together quite nice. But you're kind of thinking, like, how did anyone think this is gonna make its money back? It's like it's a 40-year
Yeah.
old obscure, like, unless it's a property that like obviously peaked in the 80s, and unless you grew up watching the cartoon, there's a very decent chance that these characters mean absolutely fucking nothing to you, like,
But
which is
this,
kind of
yeah,
strange,
and
right?
this is something I was saying to you as well about this niche kind of thing. Like we talked about a movie we both liked, which was the Dungeons and Dragons, the Honor Among
Perfect,
Thieves.
yeah.
And again, that's that's this kind of proves the point of what you're saying. That is like that movie again. It didn't take its tale too seriously. It was witty. Chris Pine was charming, playing the lute and dancing around and all the rest of it. And
Yeah, yeah.
again, the cast, like this one, fully understood the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
But despite doing well, which this is doing well with audiences, it struggled at the box office because it's a high budget gamble on
Mm-hmm.
like nostalgic nerds like us, and
Yeah.
rather than newer audience. And Dungeons and Dragons really should have been in the height, like doing, because it was a resurgence because of Stranger Things, for
Mm.
Dungeons and Dragons. But like it's kind of, yeah, okay, right tone, you've got the tone right, but you've got the budget
Mm.
completely wrong. Like, why couldn't you make something like this Masters of the Universe more grounded and do it for like 70, 80 million? You
Mm.
do something like that, and you'll make the people that you're making, people like us or people who know them, happy, but also you're making the studio a hell of a lot fucking happier as well, because yeah, you might only scrape getting the money back, but they're not going to lose a load of
Mm.
money, which is what this looks like it's on track to do. You're more likely to get a sequel in the bag if you do something like for 70 million. It does okay in the cinema, but does really well when it's word of mouth and it's on streaming.
Mm.
You're more likely to get a sequel then. Whereas the chances of this getting into She-Ra and you know other stories from this just seem so thin now because of that. And it's just mad, like, because if you're making this movie and you've got the tone right, you've got the casting right,
Mm.
which they did, it's you've got all the like we mentioned, Jared Leto and Alison Brie. So if you've got that right and you know that it can work, like how did you look at something like Dungeons and Dragons and go, okay, that didn't do too well. Well, let's do a He-Man one. That's bound to do well.
More
It's like, well, no,
obscure, like.
like yeah, even more. Yeah, okay, and you could say, okay, things like Star Wars and stuff are around since the 70s and 80s and so on, but they've been ever present. We've got fucking
Mm.
so many movies and toys and video games and everything. That's been ongoing for ages. But you're plucking this out of obscurity,
Mm.
and this was essentially a toy line, a cartoon that was made to sell this toy line. Um, it's it's such a huge swing to think that to hope that this might pay off, and like it's just not going to, and it's a shame because I, like you, Daz, I enjoyed
Mm.
this, man. I thought for the most part
Mm.
the humor was great. I did think it kind of reused some of the humor. Like, it was like, yeah, we've already got that joke. You've told us that
Mm.
joke already. Like obviously this is something I've mentioned to you before, Des, and on here about Marvel characters that
Mm,
they don't all call each other by their superhero name because that would be ridiculous. As no one is going,
mm.
"Hey, Spider Man! Oh, what's up, Iron Man? Oh, what's up, Hulk?" They all call each other by their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first or second names. You know, it's Banner or it's Tony or whatever, and because they know how fucking ridiculous it sounds, and they do in this as well. And they make the joke. I think it might even be in the trailer because one of them is called Fisto, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, you're Fisto because you fist people." But they end up using that joke a couple more times. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, I get it.
And
Like
it's
you've already made the
yeah.
joke. We get it. Like, and there's a few times it does that where it's revisiting the same thing, hammering the point home. It's like, yeah, okay, we get it. You're not taking yourself seriously. We're smart enough to understand that by now. And after the first minute or two, we understood that. So that was kind of yeah. But like yeah, it is. It's mad. I just think like I mean, you're for example, you've made films. You do that's your bread and butter is doing this kind of stuff.
Mm.
So I'm interested to know like what from your point of view, like what do you think about this? What I'm saying here about this turning a profit on where this money has disappeared to. I mean, do you think that they could have made this for 70 million, say 60, 70 million?
It's. I guess it's kind of hard because it's set on a different planet and all that, and it's just you do kind of. I guess my question is always how is this? And we spoke. This is after the movie when when movies are costing this much money, and then you can get into kind of AI and reducing budgets and all that stuff, but then that's a fucking mixed bag, and yeah, it's kind of like it's there's always reports of visual effects companies that are just losing money or shutting down or crunching
Mm.
and crazy hours for shit money and all this stuff. And just like, where's all this money going? Because it's 200 million on this. And I guess a lot of it comes down to like, I think the movie's too long for one point. Like it's 2 hours, 20 minutes, but I actually looked into when I was thinking about last night that where could you have cut it out? I mean, it maybe sags in the middle or something like that. But in terms of, uh, like the visuals, like it's still with 200 million. It's mad to think that you can see a movie that costs this much, and it's still there's inconsistencies in it. There are like
Yeah.
Eternia at times. Like there's moments in it when they crash in the forest in Eternia, and it's absolutely fucking stunning. Like it's just golden hour sunset in this alien forest and hues of pink and green, and it just looks phenomenal. And you're just going, holy shit, that is. And they released clips from that before the movie came out wisely, because it's great and the colors and fancy world design done well.
Mm.
But then like some of the shots of like Cringer when he's a battle cat later on, it just like looks at like that was really done last minute or something. You run out of time, run out of budget. It just didn't look like it was composited into the scene properly. It just like looked, when it's kind of fuzzy in the background, and
Mm.
it just, yeah, I think there's just a lot of green screen work in this, and sometimes it works, but then other times just like, it didn't really. It just looked a bit off, and just for that amount of money, you're obviously like, how do you reduce a budget? It's like it.
That's kind of the elephant in the room with regards to when it comes to CGI is the AI factor. And look, before anybody starts jumping down my throat, I'm not saying everything needs to
Mm,
be AI and fucking I understand that this is people's livelihood and all that kind of stuff, but like if I'm not talking about replacing human directors and
mm,
actors and concept artists. But if so much of this time, because it is time, there's tedious work involved in VFX. If the tedious work stuff can be done by AI and that can cut your bill down by like fucking 40% or whatever,
mm,
like isn't that preferable then we can continue to get movies that are maybe like this a little bit niche but will be such high quality because if this keeps happening continuing to fail continuing to lose money these are going to die out and this is our generation but it'll happen for the next generation and
mm,
generation after that if because there'll always be something new and if like if it keeps going the way it is, we're not going to get them
mm,
anymore. We're just not going to get those movies, and they're not going to take the risk because why would they? But like if you can get someone to do that kind of grunt work, like the what you call
mm,
the rotoscoping and
mm,
like background cleanup and just base level environments. Not talking about the
mm,
gorgeous work that you're talking about, as with the the trees and the forest and stuff like that.
Mm.
But some of the general background, like when it's wasteland or whatever, that you can't have that kind of stuff just digitally done. And it's you all of a sudden then you've got a movie that was costing 170 180 million is
Mm.
always now it's costing 90 because you've gotten so many hours taken away, but the
Mm.
main creative work is still being done by those
Oh,
teams. And
absolutely.
I just, yeah, like I don't I'm not saying that this is going to make everything better, but it gives just more this mid-tier fantasy
Mm.
movies more of a chance to shine rather than going, okay, we have to take it right down to a really small budget, like
Mm.
Judge, like Dread with Carl Urban. We have to go right, we have to take it right down in order to tell the story. That's kind of annoying. But if you can cut the cost down and still make something great, then it doesn't have to be a big Marvel Star Wars level thing for slam dunk
Mm.
before studios will go, okay, we'll give you the money to make it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it just I don't know, like it's a tough one because I get it. Everybody's worried about their jobs.
Mm.
You know what I mean. So
Well, so yeah, like I use AI in my workflow in terms of, like you're saying, if I'm cutting people out from backgrounds and stuff like that, there's just as AI built into editing softwares and motion graphics and animation software now that does that for you, but it doesn't take away of the work I'm doing. It just makes my workflow quicker, faster, and it doesn't take any creative license or anything away from any decisions or anything like that. It just cleans it up, and I can work faster, smarter, and work on more projects. And there has to be a way, like in the advances in technology, that these budgets, it can't still be this. It can't still take 200 million or cost 200 million to make a movie like this. That's not even. It doesn't even have, massive like invading armies and stuff. That is some of the battles on Eternia and the invasion of Skeletor. So it still is quite small scale, and a lot of the visual effects you're seeing are, it's not even that many digital characters. You know what I mean? There's kind of digital face replacements and stuff like that. And it's a lot of kind of backdrops, but it's not a massive, like, kind of juggernaut in terms of scale.
I just with regard to CG characters, like there are some fully CG. I mean, you'd look at like you said, Cringer, and he doesn't
Mm,
look great.
no.
The Beast Man looks okay.
Mm,
And he's pretty much all CGI. He looks okay. I thought the robot probably looked the best of all, best rendered CG
yeah, that was
characters. I
great.
can't remember the name of the robot, but I thought that she looked fantastic.
Mm,
But so I don't know. Is that where a lot of the budget is going? I don't know. Is it the whole outside of because we're of Eternia and Castle Grayskull and stuff, and those outside views, there so many of them aren't full motion shots that we're
mm,
actually getting, so it doesn't really have to. They're kind of almost still. So I don't see how there's where that's the budget is going.
mm.
It'd be an
There has
interesting
to
one
be a
actually.
world. There has to be a world where this costs 100 million, 120 million. Then it can make maybe 300, 350 worldwide, and you go, yeah, thumbs up, let's go for another one. But you can't be in a world where this has to make, close to 500 million to warrant a sequel. It's like, it's
Yeah,
just not going to happen. It's
I,
mad.
I
It's mad, and it's a shame
it
because
is. Yeah, and
I
like,
want more
I
of these
still
movies.
think. And I still think that you still need human ingenuity and to do all the heavy lifting here with reserve to design. I don't think we should be getting rid of that. I think just like what you say, you're using AI to take out something that's in the
Mm,
background. You go, oh god, I have to go through each frame to do this,
yeah,
or you can
yeah.
go right. Actually, AI, this fucking thing in the background, we don't need it. Take it away. Something like that that just cuts out time. If you can do that here and there, and I think because
Mm,
we're at a crossroads now, and I think cinema in general is at a crossroads in life. We're at a crossroads with
mm,
AI. It's not going away. Like it's
mm,
here to stay. We're not getting rid of it, and so we can either use it to kind of do this kind of shitty grunt work that we don't want to do,
mm,
um, or you can just put your foot down and say no. It has to stay out of all creative things.
mm,
I'm very interested to see for those of you listening at home to comment and let us know what you think. Do you think that there is a place for it? Not saying it takes over,
mm.
but is there a place for AI?
Yeah.
Or should it just be when it comes to creative stuff? Should we just be AI? No fucking way, get away.
Yeah, because
Really interesting to know what
we
other
need
people
more of
think.
these movies, and they have to just cost a little bit less. And
Mm,
like that kind of segues onto one of my main issues with it, which revolves around visual effects and how they couldn't incorporate it with this budget, is that Adam's transformation, which in the movie it's lovely the way it's set, where you see him on Earth, and they delay it until he gets to Eternia after 25 minutes, and then you get to the point where he finally gets the sword, and like, oh, I have the power, and I got goosebumps. I was like, this is fucking great, because I remember the cartoon nostalgia overload is just, it's brilliant. And when he transforms and you see him in the outfit and muscles and everything, he looks down at his muscles and it's just like, wow, here we go. And it's like, but you are you are very obviously a massive ripped guy in the movie before this moment. That's the main problem. You can dress him in a fucking baggy shirt, or he's in the gym in a baggy jumper kind of workout top, and sometimes doing that makes him seem even bigger because you're imagining how big this fucking guy is underneath that baggy shirt. That's just a massive pink baggy shirt, and that why with this kind of budget, like, we live in a world where Marvel can make Samuel Jackson convincingly look like he's 28 years of age, and you're going, okay, why and how have they not, or maybe they did, and I'd love to look into this, how have they not found a way to, like Steve Rogers in Captain America, maybe not that
Yeah.
extreme, but clothing wise, just make him just slim, just even a tiny bit smaller, because he looks like a fucking absolute ripped beefcake, and then suddenly his clothes vanish and he's like, wow, look at my muscles, just like,
They're making
that
him go
was
to the
just a
gym and like a gym as if he doesn't know
pretend he
what he's
can't
doing
lift
there.
weights. He's pretending he can't lift weights. Like, you could lift the whole fucking bench up, you mad prick. That was just, I was like, that was just a shame. And it didn't really take away too much, but it was, or if maybe if they made a joke about that, because they make a joke about everything else self awareness wise. If they made a
Yeah.
joke about that, and just like, yeah, but were you not pretty big anyway? No. Um, that kind of annoyed me. Were there any other issues with you, like with the movie then, in terms of
Like, I mean,
negatives?
not that I haven't already kind of
Mm.
mentioned. I think it's a paper, it's a fairly paper thin plot with regards to Skeletor. Yeah, he's just the bad guy. That's what he is. He's just, I'm the bad
Mm.
guy. My name is Skeletor. I've got a skull for a face. And they fully just point at it. He just wants ultimate power,
Yeah,
and I like that's I get it. I get why it's always going to be that thin. I think that the moments that you get mostly were from, as you said, Idris Elba and his daughter Tila. I thought that kind of, there's conflict there because of how he's been on in all the years Adam has gone, and Skeletor has been in power, and I think there's some really interesting stuff there, but there's not really any. I don't have anything really for the other guys, like our Fisto, Mechanic,
yeah,
Man, ridiculous names like these. There's no really anything from them at all, with regards to background or who they are so much. But like I don't know, it was just a fun romp for me. Like
mm.
when I talked about Mortal Kombat a few weeks ago, I was like, this movie is just ridiculous fun, and
Mm.
that's what I got here. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from a live action He-Man movie, um, but
Mm.
I love that it just poked fun at itself in a fun way. Where you saw Anaconda try to do that and do it really badly. Um,
Yeah,
when they did that super kind of meta self awareness, and it was like, this for me hit the mark more than it missed it for me.
yeah. A star rating, what would you give it?
I think 3.5. I think I'm going to go 3.5, and it's not getting up to like a great movie, but it's definitely one that I would watch again. I Again, just to cover over those things, the negatives where it didn't need to cost this much. It didn't
Mm.
need to probably didn't even need to be as long as it was.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it's a fun time. I think even if you're not a fan of, or you don't know much about E-Man because you're too young or you just weren't arsed, I would recommend this to anybody really, because it's just a fun time. And I'm glad it got made. If you don't get to see a sequel,
Yeah,
bummer, but I'm glad this got made.
yeah. I was thinking three, but you've convinced me up to 3.5. I think it's far better than it had any kind of right to be, and it's not going to go down as one of the fantasy kind of greats, but it's silly and ridiculous and kind of messy, too long. But it embraces the madness of the 80s cartoon, which was absolutely preposterous fun. And yeah, and it's just a shame that we're probably not going to get a sequel, because that would have
Mm.
been quite nice. So yeah, that is an end to our review of Masters of the Universe, with an aside of AI CGI chat, which was a lot of fun to chat through. So let us know, in the comments. Did you see the movie? What did you think of it? Are you going to see it? Have you seen the 80s cartoon? If you haven't seen the cartoon, you saw the movie, I'd love to know what you thought about all the fucking crazy characters. So yeah, next up for us is Disclosure Day. I think next week we might be seeing it midweek, so there might be an early review for that. So bring it on, some Spielberg action. So yeah, thanks for sharing, liking, subscribing, everything in between, and we will catch you next week with another one. Take it easy.
Bye bye.
I have the power. I'm not going to do that. Okay, bye.